Live. We should be live
What's-
now.
All right. There it is. Cool. Okay. And there's all right. You hear us, Jason?
Yep. I kill everyone in the party.
Short night.
Guys, roll up new characters. It's over. All right. Let's see. Here we are. It's Carrion Crown Season 1, Episode 4. We're still in the Haunting of Harrowstone. Recapping the last session, you guys went to Harrowstone. You fought this like animated executioner's scythe on the second floor landing. Busted your way in. Actually, you didn't bust your way in. Julian was able to pick the lock. You went in, got into the cell block on the second floor, and promptly had to get out of there. Although you did do a tremendous amount of damage while you were there. Went back to town, talked to the Grimborough. I'm trying to think, there may have been you may have set up a neat little wine shipping route, Julian. And I think the next plan was to go visit the Rustlands. The false crypt.
Somewhere in there was I'm getting lots of feedback. Somewhere in there.
Still getting some, huh? I don't think anybody else is hearing it.
Huh, that's weird. There, now it's gone. I think there was a second a second letter on the memorial happened after we got back, right?
That did as well. Yep.
But yeah, I think we were. But yeah, otherwise I think we were just getting ready to head to the Restlands.
Okay. Let's just get you there. All right. All right. Just working your way down the path. The description of the location was somewhere in this region. Hang on a second.
I don't know, does the acolyte that we're with know which one it is? Do we know which one it is?
Oh, that's right. You do have an acolyte with you. Oops. It's not a very good picture. We'll use that. We'll use one, but that'll work. All right. Yeah. You knew that it was on the corner of what was called the Black Path and the Eversleep. The Eversleep is the current path you're on now that runs through the Restlands. And he's right behind you, and he points towards this crypt over here.
All right. Rapes or Bedouin? Is that our target?
That's
Nectans kind of steps up in front.
Yeah, and I'll step up and walk up to the front door and check the seal.
Well, Okay, so the two of you kind of head over to the front of it.
Yeah.
Okay, Necton moves up there. All right, so you see that it's a freestanding granite mausoleum. The roof is decorated with a pair of Lyran gargoyle statues. You see there's a single stone door with a rusty-looking lock set in the mausoleum's south facade.
Does it look like the door has been opened anytime recently?
No.
All right. I will. Is it locked?
Yes.
I asked the acolyte if he has a key.
He says, we looked for, he pulls out a ring and he says, I suspect perhaps it's on here. He goes, but I mean, this should go to every mausoleum in the Westlands, but we weren't able to determine which one. He prefers it over to you, Julian, before we step forward. You're muted.
He gives it to me.
Yeah.
Do I look like the keymaster? All right. I will hand it to Beefcake Necton.
He picks it up and he goes to. You see, he kind of leans in and then he stops and he goes, "Oh." He goes, the lock appears to be broken. He moves aside so you can take a look at it.
All right. I will examine the lock.
Yeah, you're able to see that it appears that the clasp was melted by acid and then it was put back into place, so that if you're just looking at it, unless you're like really examining it closely, you might not notice that it's in fact not even locked at all.
It's not locked at all.
Well, at that point, Necton hands you back the keys and he goes, "Well, we clearly don't need that." And he draws his sword, looks over to you, Bedwin, and he's like, "You ready?"
I nod and pull out my sword. Oh, no, I don't. Just
Don't pull out your sword.
There shouldn't be anything here.
Necton says, "Well, so you say."
So I will open the door.
Okay. You open the door, and Necton kind of has his shield up and sword out, kind of looking inside. All right, give me just a second. I'm gonna bring you. The acolyte decides to stand outside. Okay. You're gonna have to. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, Julien, you notice as the halfling appears to try to pilfer the keys out of your pocket.
I will jangle them in front of him as I put them in the acolyte's hand.
Okay, you pass it back out as you guys look inside the main room of the mausoleum. Oh my gosh, quit with all the pop-ups here. Okay, so inside You see a short flight of steps, stairs, that lands on kind of a darker granite flooring. It's actually a rather wide and spacious room. As you can see, it's 30 by nearly 30 feet on the other side, and there are statues lining either side of this entryway. To whom you're not exactly certain. You can make a religion roll if you'd like, Piccolo. They are saints to Pharasma. Otherwise not important. You can see... Oh, was there a question?
Well, I'm going to pick up a pebble as we enter and cast light upon it.
Okay. Cast it into the room.
I'll just hold it in my hand.
Okay. Are you guys able to see in here?
I can.
I can.
Oh, that's right. You have... I'll go ahead and just put that on there, since you got light on there. Okay. So one of the first things that's very obvious to pretty much everybody is that there are a set of footsteps that work their way across the floor to the right-hand door that have disturbed the dust. Otherwise, the dust has been completely undisturbed. But you see a set of steps going to the door and then back from the door. Coming from the front entrance, yes. Where you stand now.
I will follow the footsteps. I will assume those are the professor's steps, and I will follow them towards the door, or to the door.
They're vaguely human, or not vaguely, they're human-sized feet. And they do go to the right-hand door.
Okay.
Is the professor human?
Yes, he was. And so was his daughter. Okay, this door does not appear to have any lock upon it.
Well, after dealing with the undead up at the prison, while I think it is silly, before we enter deeper, I'm going to use my divine sense to detect undead and ready my shield, pull my sword, and open the door.
Okay. Necton's ready to stab whatever's on the other side of it when you do that. All right, you open the door. You see, another smaller entryway with another set of steps going even further down.
The footprints go down the stairs, I assume?
They do.
All right, I will start making my way down.
Okay. All right. Necton kind of comes right beside you to flank you on the stair. Okay.
And I will continue all the way down.
All right. You guys tentatively move down the steps and look into the room below. You see here at the bottom that the faint line of tracks leads to a single large sarcophagus that sits in this deepest part of the crypt. The lid is firmly on it. Otherwise, you really don't notice anything else of anything obvious here.
All right, I will move over to the crypt. Or to the sarcophagus. I will say a short prayer, sorry for disturbing your rest, and ask Nevin to assist me Necton, to assist me taking the lid off the sarcophagus.
Yeah, Necton looks around the room, by the light of your pebble, sees no movement, and he steps up over here and he just rests his sword against the side of the sarcophagus, and puts his shield down and comes over, I guess, roughly here, to grip the edge of the sarcophagus lid, so you guys can try to move it. Do you want him to help you, or you want to help him?
Um, I'm gonna take a guess, and I'm gonna help him.
Okay. All right. He'll make the roll. Athletics. And okay, so 16. Yeah, you guys move the lid. It takes quite a bit of effort to kind of get it maybe broke loose, but once it does, you start sliding it. You don't slide it too far though before you're both able to see that there is no body down inside of it, but there do appear to be a handful of items. However, the noise of your passage seems to have stirred up something, and you may not have heard it before, but there are now. Hold on a second to clear this out. Two creatures slither in through a crack in the side of the room. There's no surprise per se, but you hear them as they scuttle into the room. Necton kind of shouts and tries to grab for his stuff. So everybody roll a nit. Better do the same for Necton, I guess. Okay, and hold on, I guess I didn't get her. She's probably right here. Okay. All right, Necton is up. He equips his items, which takes his action to do both. But he has shield and sword is ready, and he moves up to here to flank you. Okay, Piccolo, you're up.
I can't see anything at the moment. How big are they?
Are you able to see the map at all?
Yes, I can see them now.
Okay, yeah, you hear the sounds of scuttling feet around the corner to the right. You have no idea, but whatever it is, it's making a lot of noise.
I peek around the corner.
Okay, well, you can kind of move yourself out just to see, but you see that they are fairly large, like man-sized bugs.
Okay. Bug bashing time, I guess. That's 5 feet.
You can move all the way up.
I can? Okay.
Yeah, you can get up to it.
All right, I can get up to 35 now.
Oh yeah, right. You have the most. That's
Actually, I'm gonna form the line and ready my attack.
all right. Wise move. And this one here comes straight up the middle, and he's going to attack Necton. Well, hold on. Actually, he goes for the halfling. Missing. But snaps at you with his mandibles, but doesn't seem to get at anything. All right, Julian, you're up.
All right. Are these 5-foot squares?
They are. You can move through your friends too.
And I will attack this one. Deftly.
You hit.
Very.
It goes down.
Okay, and I forget, what are my 3 bonus actions? None of them are useful here, right? Disengage, hide, and what's the other one?
Disengage, hide, and
Dash. Yeah.
dash.
Nope.
So you could move again.
I will use my bonus action to twirl my rapier elegantly.
All right, you shake the blood from it as you make a elegant flourish. All right. Okay, Edwin, you're up.
Actually, I will pull out a javelin and throw a javelin at the remaining bug. And I will miss.
That's going to miss terribly. Roll again to hit. Okay. Generally, I just, if you roll a 1, if you roll a 1 again, then something bad happens. Is the way I run it. So, okay. And do you move?
Yeah. No, after I throw the javelin, I'll pick up my shield and longsword.
Okay.
Which because I had set them down as well to move the lid.
That's right, and you haven't moved, so yeah, no problem. I'll let you do that. No problem. Yeah. So let's take a stop for just a moment. To Michael's point, Jason, what you need to do is, yeah. You don't necessarily have to role play from the standpoint of your, obviously your character can't speak at this point, but playing out something within your personality traits. I'd say the most obvious one is if you use one of your flaws in a way that kind of maybe causes a bit of a disadvantage to yourself or the group. Hopefully not too major, but that's definitely a scenario. But otherwise playing out one of your bonds or ideals in a way that is somewhat dramatic, absolutely. And if I miss it, feel free to call it out. But I definitely want to see the role play. So, anyway, back to the game. Okay, so you pick those up. Karis. Second here. I am not used to playing Karis, so just a moment. All right. She moves up.
Familiar shocking grasp, fly in the ceiling. That you could just make a macro.
Yeah, I shouldn't I? Right? And she probably has her. She's going to do a chaos bolt actually at the critter, and she misses. She runs away. Oh, she's behind the line, so she's all right.
Is that acolyte? Did he come down with us, or is he?
He did not. He stayed out front. He was not interested in entering the mausoleum. He just opened the door for you, although he actually didn't even need to do that. So, okay. All right, and then the last centipede. It's going to move right here again. In fact, let me get rid of this one. I'll just put it down 2 back. There we go. All right. So this one is going to attempt. Let's see. It's got 4 choices. All right. This time it's going to attack Bedwin. 17. What's your AC, Bedwin? Looks like a 19.
Right, it's 19.
Yeah, good thing you got that shield up in time. It misses. Okay, and it's back to Necton, and he's going to try to take it out. And he does not hit, unfortunately. So I don't know why I rolled damage. Okay, but he stays put. Piccolo, you're up. That's a hit. Okay. And you have a bonus. You're going to hit it again. That's a hit too. Okay, 2 strikes later, it goes down. It's over. Okay. pile of dead, but still, reflexively thrashing giant centipede is laying there on the floor. They appear to have come in through cracks over here in the wall of the crypt, and there's a little bit of dirt, that's kind of worked its way into the room.
I'm going to take a peek into the crypt and get a sense of what items are in there before my compatriots start pilfering them.
Sure. Okay. Quick moment here. All right. There's quite a few things in here, in fact. There are a single scroll tube from the looks of it. There's several potions in almost like a crate, like they were purposely put here or stored here. And then what looks like a handful of arrows and a handful of bolts, like crossbow bolts.
Okay. As soon as I'm confident there's no more of these bugs coming out, I will also look in the crypt and catalog what is there.
Yeah, there, and I failed to mention there's also like a case, like a wooden case, along with those items. It's maybe 2.5 feet wide, not very tall, maybe only not even a foot high, made out of the dark wood case itself looks like it might be worth some money, just because of the craftsmanship of the box.
Okay. How many potions did you say?
Well, there are a total of, obvious, like within the crate, there are 7 vials.
Okay. I suggest we collect it all and head back take it back to the church so they can see for sure what was here. And we can...
What does the church have to do with this stuff again?
According to the notes, it was from the professor. This is the cache the church put here a long time ago. And while the church no longer remembered that it was here, it is their property, so we should make sure we have their permission before we use the items.
So you drag all the items back out of the mausoleum and present them to the acolyte?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, he looks them over and he says, "None of this has been cataloged." He goes, "Please follow me back to the church, and we'll present them to Father Grimborough."
Okay.
Okay. You guys traipse on back to the Church of Pharasma. You catch up with Father Grimborough, and I think by this point it's probably, mid-afternoon, maybe not even quite.
So I was confused. There were vials and arrows and bolts, and then a box that we haven't opened, or was that stuff in the box?
A box you haven't opened, a dark wood case of sorts.
So there's a fairly decent-sized box we haven't opened yet. Okay.
Right. Yep. So you guys head on back to the church, and you guys see Father Grimborough. He takes you kind of to a back room where their library is. And by the way, you step into this area, you see Karis's eyes light up at just the breadth of volumes that line the shelves of this. One whole wall is devoted to scrolls, and then the other 3 walls and several bookshelves, in this chamber are just stuffed with books. And then in the middle, there's quite a large table. Grimborough brings you over to the table, and he says, "Well, let's set them all out." So you guys do that, and he appears to cast a spell or make a prayer of sorts. After which he starts looking at the individual items, and he notes that all of them have magical auras about them. He points to the scroll tube, pops it open, and kind of rolls out 4 sheaves. And you guys look through those. The 2 of the scrolls have the same identical spell penned on them, and it appears to be a lesser restoration scroll. Todd, you look like you're inventorying.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the scrolls is a detect evil and good, and the 4th scroll is a protection from evil and good.
Okay.
5 of the potions, and by the way, this takes a course of a few hours as he works to identify them. 5 of the potions are potions of healing, standard grade.
Standard.
Which is like a 2d4 plus 2, I think. 2 he pulls off to the side, and he indicates that they've been brewed in such a way that they imbue the same effect as the scrolls of lesser restoration. So they are effectively a potion of lesser restoration. Of the dozen arrows, he sets aside 2 of them. 10 of them, he says, have minor magical enchantment. Basically, they're +1 arrows. But 2 of them he holds up, and they actually have, unlike the others, they don't have a wooden shaft. They have a bone shaft. And he says these arrows, when fired at the undead, are they have a bane property to them. He says, I believe that the magic will only last for one strike. So use them well. He goes, but you've recovered these, and considering that you said you're going to investigate the Harrowstone, if you tell me that you intend to use these items for that mission, he goes, then you can take them with you.
I appreciate it, and yes, we will use them, and we will return what we do not use.
The same goes with the bolts. Julian's like, speak for yourself, brother. The bolts are also just +1 bolts.
Okay, there's how many bolts?
5. So 10 +1 arrows, 5 +1 bolts, and 2 undead bane arrows.
Okay, and then
What's in the box? What's in the box?
Everybody wants to know. It's not the head of your wife, thankfully. Yeah, so then he cracks this open, and you see he kind of clucks to himself a bit, and he goes, we haven't seen these in a century. He goes, they haven't been produced by the priesthood of Pharasma in I don't know how long. He goes, but I believe these would be quite useful to you. And he holds up. So when he opens the case, on the top there is like a board, and it has letters written across the board. In the upper left, it's like yes, and the upper right, it's like no. And he sets that out on the table, and then after that, he holds out kind of like a teardrop-shaped item that's got like a glass piece in the middle where you can look through it. He sets that on the board. But what he's most interested in, it appears, are these larger vials underneath of the board. And you can see that there are 3 of these particular vials. They have kind of like a smoky, like you can't tell if it's a gas or a liquid inside because it's just constantly boiling. Okay. But yeah, there are currently 3 in these kind of velvet lined indentations that were underneath of this board. And he kind of holds one up. Hang on a second here. I'll turn this back up. And he starts to describe their general use. Yeah, so he says all you got to do is you got to twist the metal casing at the top, and you can kind of roll it into an area that you believe is haunted. The haunt itself will be literally drawn into it, at which point you'll see that the inside, the gases or the liquids inside will change color, at which point you know that the haunt has been absorbed into this thing.
Wonderful. I'm running out of shirts to ruin.
So there was 4 vials of unhaunting.
They're called haunt siphons.
Okay, and there's 4 of them. 4 haunt.
Hang on a second. Oh, you're right. There are 4. There are indentations for 10 of them, but 6 are empty. There are 4 left.
Okay. I thought I had heard 4. That's okay. 4 haunt siphons.
What about Holemaker, the Rapier of Wit? That's still in the case, right?
Right. It's a very short rapier. Yeah. So the other thing that he set out on the table is kind of an interesting board with markings on it. I mean, you see the Varisian alphabet laid out, and then of course this, like I said, it's kind of a teardrop shaped thing with a hole in the middle of it. Make a religion check to see if perhaps you might know what it is. Not a clue, Piccolo.
Well, why the heck isn't it rolling?
You having some trouble with the dice roller character sheet?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, eventually, Father Grimbro he notices you guys eyeing this other thing, and he goes, "It's a spirit plancher." He goes, "It has some use in contacting the dead. I don't recommend it. The dead should stay dead." But if you think it would be of any use to you in your investigation, by all means, take it with you. So, yeah, Father Grimbro kind of steps back after you've examined all these items, and he says, "They're all yours to do with, or to help you in the investigation at Harrowstone." And you did talk to him about your previous trip up to Harrowstone and your thoughts on what's happened so far.
Yes.
So yeah, Grimborough, he says, I would accompany you if I were a younger man. He goes, but at my age, he goes, I don't know that I'd be of much use to you. He goes, but I would be very interested in whatever you find up there. Just be safe. He goes, the sheriff wouldn't have any of us go up there. It's, you could say, against the law.
Well, you are the spiritual leader of the community, and so it would be foolish to risk yourself in this endeavor. But we will do our best to clear it out quickly and without injury to ourselves. We will return and let you know how it goes.
Excellent. Yeah, so they go in and they find an extra quiver, and they stuff all of the arrows and bolts into the quiver, and they just leave the potions in the, it's kind of basically a segmented box, almost like a crate you might carry wine bottles in, only smaller.
I'll snag one of the healing potions and do whatever you do with them. It's tied to the belt or...
Sure, they're 2d4 plus 2 healing potion.
Do scrolls work like they did in Pathfinder or 3.0, where you need to have the spell on your spell list?
You do not.
Okay, anybody can use the scroll.
Anybody can use it. If you want to copy it into your spell book, assuming that it is a spell that your class can use, that constitutes usage of it. It burns the scroll.
Yeah, I was just wondering because that would really limit the number of people who could cast these scrolls. Does anybody use a bow?
Crossbow? Here, let me take a look, because I want to say Karis may. In just a second.
I don't know. Am I allowed to throw them?
Are you at the level where you can? Only when they're thrown at you.
Oh, no, that's when I catch them.
Yes, Karis does use crossbows. She has one. Do you want her to take the crossbow bolts?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has them. Okay, I'll put that in here. Treasure 5 plus 1 bolts. Okay. Does anybody use a bow?
I don't think I'm allowed to.
I don't have one.
Unless it constitutes... because I think I can throw things. I don't think I can shoot them.
Okay. How do you distribute these haunt siphons?
Actually, I wonder if it might not be best to have Karis use the haunt siphons.
No, because
Can she use it from outside?
Well, she does seem to kind of run outside quite a bit. You want her to...
If it's just the twisty part, I'd say put it on the folks most likely to be up front.
Okay. Well, should each Julian, myself, Nectin, and Piccolo carry a haunt siphon?
Sure.
Okay, so Karis will not write that down. I'll put one under Nectar. Okay. One. What about the potions of healing? Nectin says, "I'll take one of those if no one."
I think we should just divide them up.
Yeah, I mean, there's one for each of you.
Right.
Okay, I'll put that down for both then. All right. Okay, got that covered. So,
Okay, so who wants a potion? Who wants the scrolls and the other two potions? The two potions of lesser restoration.
Why don't we let Karis have those? She's probably
Okay.
the last
yeah,
one to die.
if you're looking for somebody to use them from afar, I'm probably the one. So you want her to take all 4 or just 2 of them?
I say take the two potions of restoration and then all 4 scrolls. All right. Then we need to go shopping. How much does Necton have left to pay for his Warhammer? How much does he have to work off that yet?
Well, he says, well, I've got about maybe 5 more loads before I've got it covered. But I can do that.
Well, we want to get him a bludgeoning weapon before we go back in. So
He's like, do we plan to go in today? Because there's probably enough time for me today to finish that job.
okay.
I know she's chomping at the bit to get that wood, for the forge.
Okay, we can wait and go in tomorrow then, I guess, if everybody else agrees.
We're gonna work our day jobs first. Okay.
Yeah. I will help load wood too after I want to go get some other supplies. Piccolo, you are good for bludgeoning damage. Julian, do you want to continue using your rapier, or would you like a weapon that does bludgeoning damage?
Oh, I wouldn't be caught dead with anything but my rapier.
I figured, but I thought I'd offer.
It was a gift from your father when you became a man.
It is managed to dismember several skeletons, so it seems to do the job.
All right.
And it was a gift from my father's mistress when I became a man.
Even better. Okay. All right. So yeah, Necton says, well, if that's what we're doing, he says, I've got a job to do. I'll head out and go take care of it.
I'm gonna go find a nice, is it getting towards the evening?
Yeah, I mean it's mid-afternoon probably at this point now.
Okay. I'm gonna,
Well,
if we're going tomorrow, I'm going to go catch an early nap, and then go out this evening.
okay. All right. All right. So Necton accompanies you back to the Lorimer place so he can remove all of his armor. And kind of throws on some pretty basic clothing. Work clothes that maybe he has. You'd never be caught dead in anything like that. And he trudges back up the hill.
I will change clothes and go with him to help.
Okay. Piccolo, what do you do?
I help load wood. Like I said I would.
Okay. So all 3 of you go up and help Necton out. And, he thanks the both of you. He says this was just an agreement that I made so that I could get that hammer. He goes, you guys didn't need the help, so thank you very much. He seems to be a fairly humble guy, I'm assuming. See, we'll see how how Nate plays him. So actually, while he's talking, or while you guys are working, it's an opportunity for Nate to talk, or Necton to talk, I should say. And he says, I've been thinking about that. By the way, Julian, you're back taking a nap at the moment. So he's really just kind of addressing you and Bedwin and Piccolo. And he says, I've been thinking about that battle that we were in. He goes, it seems like maybe it could have gone better. And he goes, in hindsight, I felt like maybe I jumped the gun when I went down that hallway. But I got a sense. I don't know that I really have a strong sense of each of your specific talents. He goes, he looks over at you, Bedwin. He goes, pretty simple in my mind. You and I both make a shield wall, or could if we stayed side by side or together. He looks over at you, Piccolo. He says, I know you're the quiet type, but I get the sense that you could kind of get into some hard to reach places, and if things go south, you could kind of help us flank the enemy.
I have them line up in a shield wall, gesture for them to line up as a shield wall, and I show them how I can sneak in and out between their swords, like, stab my javelin through, gaps in their shields without, creating too much of an opening kind of thing. And even just like flip over them at some point and, land and then, pretend to attack something. Other than, evade back out.
Yeah. Necton seems to get an inordinate amount of enjoyment out of planning battles, and he doesn't seem to have any illusions. He says, look, I know no plan survives first contact with the enemy, but in all honesty, he goes, I'd like to have a better plan for how we enter battle. That last one, I didn't show. It wasn't my best showing.
We definitely need to be more coordinated in the future, especially recognizing, it appears that prison is quite full of undead. So, unless we want to step in, empty a cell, and come back and rest for a day and go back, which means we'll be here for years, we need to coordinate and be more effective as a team in combat.
Yeah, he agrees wholeheartedly. And he does say one last thing to you, Piccolo. He says, I just want to say thank you. I seem to have kind of fallen under the spell of that, whatever that music was, and you helped to get me out of there. He goes, you could have just left me, and I appreciate that you didn't.
I grin at him and gesture that next time maybe he should plug his ears.
Yeah. He said, if I had the time and I realized that was the way past it, like Julian showed us, and then I would absolutely do that. He goes, in fact, if we decide to go back into that room, I think we all need to do that. He goes, and you bring up a great point. I really feel like the next time we decide to go back in there, we probably need to do a bit more recon, if that's possible.
I just kind of shrug and make the duh gesture.
All right, so that takes up most of your rest of your afternoon, but you complete the work, and he trades in the gold plus his labor, and at the end of the day comes back to the Lorimore place with you guys and a new warhammer.
I'm going to purchase a warhammer as well.
Okay, yeah. She's got light hammers and full-blown warhammers.
A warhammer is versatile, so I can use it one-handed, correct?
I believe it is a one-handed weapon, right? Yeah.
Okay. That's 15 gold.
Was that a question?
No, I'm sure it's 15 gold.
Yeah, it's standard price. I'll let you know if the prices vary at all.
15, 32, 3. And then I will go.
Just so you know, if you're hearing stuff in the background, nobody's dying.
It sounds like murder.
Everybody's perfectly safe. I promise.
I look for a store that is selling like candle wax, sealing wax, something we can make earplugs out of.
Oh yeah, the Outward Inn. Or not, sorry, not the Outward Inn. They're just called the General Store. In
Okay.
fact, I'm trying to think. I think it was the General Store that sent that they also are the kind of where the post tends to leave mail if they can't find somebody. So, by the way, Julian, I mean, if I assume you've been kind of paying attention to my responses to your mail.
Mhm.
There's a guy in town, George, who
George.
is George, who's available for you if you have any other letters to send before he takes off tomorrow.
Very good.
He's staying at the Outward Inn, which is right next to the general store.
That's definitely murder.
It does sound like that, doesn't it? Okay, so yeah, so yeah, basic stuff like that. Anything that's in the base player's handbook, you can just pay the regular price. You got it.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so you're about ready to head out, Julian, when the three of you guys come back.
So what time is it?
Oh, it's evening. It's dusk.
Oh, I wouldn't have been heading out yet.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. It is third day. Moment here. Take a look at something. Okay. Piccolo, as the three of you are walking back to the Lorimer place, you just pass a group of girls that are playing like skip rope along the side of the road, off to the side. Oh, come on. And normally you wouldn't think much of it. Do you what languages do you speak, Piccolo?
Let me pull my character sheet up here. Common, Varetian, and Thiefskin.
Okay, Varisian's pretty commonly spoken in this town. But you hear this song that they're singing, and it seems like as you guys are approaching and then going by, each girl says two lines and then skips out, and then the next girl jumps in and continues what sounds like some sort of maybe like a nursery rhyme of sorts, but it's really strange. And you catch, it seems to repeat. You catch what you think is the beginning. It says, and they're kind of saying it rhythmically, and they say, put her body on the bed, take a knife and lop her head, watch the blood come out the pipe, feeds the sturge so nice and ripe, drops of red so sparkly bright, splatters spell her name just right. With the hammer killed his wife, now he wants to claim your life. Tricksy father tells a lie, listen closer, you will die. And then it just continues to repeat those same verses as they just continue to do this skipping game that they're playing. The other two are talking battle planning and seem to not catch it.
All right, and then just keep repeating it.
They're into the first repeating of it as you kind of break even with them along the road as you head south towards the Lorimore place.
I pretend to stop and join in with their skipping rope to listen.
Like you want to get in line, like you're gonna do the jump rope with them.
Yep.
Okay. Roll like a persuasion test or any other sort of charisma based ability.
Oh, this is gonna suck.
All right. Well, they, you slide into the group of them, and what's funny is you're about the same size as some of the shorter girls. So they don't even seem to notice until you're directly behind a girl who's currently skipping. What do you do?
Um,
They look over at you, and you see immediate shock as the girl in front of you jumps out.
I jump in and start playing along.
You try to sing the next verse in the line, or the next
Well,
verse.
I can't. I can't sing. I guess. Can I clap along to the beat or something of the words?
All right. Well, roll like an acrobatics check to see how well you're able to do the skip thing. Okay. You've got no problem with it. You do that about like maybe a couple of seconds. They're a little stunned. They start to slow down on the skip rope thing, and then one of them screams, and then they just start to scatter. Not like super freaked out screaming, but just like how little girls might do, like when something's not quite right. And then the next one screams, and then three of them scream, and they run off. Bedouin and Necton, you guys kind of look around when you hear the screaming, and you see what appears to be the halfling in amongst a group of girls, young girls that are all running in different directions, screaming. They all take off.
I just shake my head at the halfling and, are you coming, or do you want to stay and play with your friends?
Look where they ran and shake my head and look dejected and join them again.
Okay. All right, you guys end up at the Lorimer place. Julian,
I buy a short bow as well.
Yeah, no problem.
I asked Julian, when we get back, I asked Julian if he wants to use it to take advantage of, make use of these arrows.
Oh, thank you for the offer, but bows are not my strong suit.
Yeah.
When we get back, I start searching the library for local history.
Okay. The library is basically the same as his study. And when you go in there, you see an interesting sight. Karis is poring over one of the books, and his owl is like peering over her owl. Her owl is peering over her shoulder. Off to the side, you see another book open, and then next to it there are sheaves of paper, and there is an ink blotter, an inkwell, and there's kind of hovering in the air over the page a quill that's currently writing on that page right next to another book that's open.
I use stealth and walk up and start reading over the shoulder while she's preoccupied.
Okay, make a stealth roll. Yeah, no problem. She actually doesn't even notice you're there. You kind of creep into the room quietly. You look over. She's reading a book called, and you're fairly certain it's one of the books from the chest that you need to deliver in 1 month's time. Give me a moment here.
The books that were dangerous and we shouldn't be reading from?
The very ones. So the one that she's currently copying appears, you see the name Ergothoa in it rather frequently. You know enough about religion to know that Urgathoa is perhaps known as the first undead. You also know that she is worshipped by vampires, and those perhaps seeking undeath. You also notice that in the margins of that book, which she's currently reading, you see the professor's handwriting. He's got liberal notes sprinkled in the margins. The
Okay.
other that book appears to be written in Varisian, which you're able to read. The other one, the other one that's open next to the parchment that just has a quill sort of scribbling furiously. It appears to be, it's written in common, and the language is very kind of archaic. It appears to also be a book related to another dark god, not Urgathoa, someone named Zon Kuthan. And from what you can tell, the quill is transcribing what's on the page. About a minute or so later, a page is filled. You see another page. You see sand sprinkle across the parchment. It moves off to the side. Another page replaces it, and the owl flies over, turns a page on that book, and then the quill begins scribbling furiously again. Off to the side, though, you do see a few other books, as well as the purple dyed leather book that has the scarab and eye logo on it.
Cat. Can I swap the books on the stand?
On the stand.
The one that's being copied?
What do you want to swap it with?
Another book that's much more innocuous?
Well, you're not sure what's going to happen. Now, Karis is not looking at that open book where the bird is flying back and forth to it, but it does seem like she's got a really strong connection with that bird, which also has not noticed you.
Okay. Can I use insight to try and get an feeling of general intent of what she's trying to do?
Yeah, make a roll. Yeah, I mean, you have clearly she's interested in absorbing the knowledge in these books. Clearly she's unconcerned with what Lorimor indicated, that they contain dangerous knowledge. That's really about all you're able to get out of it at this point, out of what's happening here. Off to the side is another entire stack of books that are kind of bound with string, and you suspect that an entire book has been copied already. But when you look at the purple leather-bound book, its clasp appears to be still closed.
Well, how to handle this? Walk back out of the room and then enter loudly.
Okay.
To gauge her reaction.
Okay. You step out of the room. As you turn to kind of move back into the room, you're nearly startled by Kendra. And she goes, "Oh, there you are, my little friend." She goes, we haven't had any time to talk alone. She goes, and I didn't want to present this to you near the others. Father indicated that this would be for you only, and I was just waiting for the right time to give it to you. She says, can you maybe, she kind of motions to the kitchen, where there's nobody there right now.
Okay. I just nod.
Okay. She when you get in there, she goes, I haven't opened this, so I don't know exactly what it is. She goes, but Father did brief me over the years on what he was trying to do on your behalf. Something about trying to find your parentage or something. She goes, I don't know what he found, but he said this was for you. And you see that there's an envelope, and it's sealed shut with, wax, and the lorem or kind of L signet.
I take it and kind of plop down somewhere and start reading.
Okay. She says, "Are you hungry?" She goes, you and your friends have been out all day. I mean, I could get you something."
I just kind of gesture like I'm a halfling. Of course I'm hungry. And, in a good-natured way.
Hang on a second. Yeah, she goes, no problem. She goes, you take your time. I'll be back with food. Okay. All right. So
All right.
you disregard the other and read that.
I tuck it back into my tunic real quick and then loudly enter the library and plop down to read my note in the library.
Okay.
So that way I can be disruptive, gauge response, and have something of my own to, have my own reason to be in there.
Okay. When you enter, you note that the stack of parchment is now gone. The books have been replaced, and Karis is nowhere to be found.
All right. Well, I sit down and read.
Okay.
Read the note.
Okay. Bedwin, if you have nothing else you were planning to do today, Necton and you probably spent some more time talking about past battles and training and such, and Kendra feeds you.
Well, actually, I was going to approach Kendra and say I need to take Thunderstep out to work him a little bit. So I was wondering if she would care to accompany me for a short ride and maybe a picnic outside of town.
She says, that sounds great. She goes, I promised Piccolo that I would get him some food. She goes, let me get him some cold cuts and fruits and things, and I will join you.
Then I will freshen up if she is doing that after loading wood and prepare to go for a ride.
All right. So, yeah, Piccolo, Kendra finds you in the study. She seems like she's maybe in a bit of a hurry. And but she drops down a plate of dried meat, cheese, bread, somewhat chilled milk.
I quickly write a note and hold it up for her to read, saying, "Where would I find local history in the library?"
Yeah, her eyes perk up. She goes, "Well, if you can get access to it," she goes, "probably the best source of information in town would be the Church of Pharasma." She goes, "But the Pharasman monks are typically not." And then she kind of looks down at her chest. She goes, "Oh, what am I saying?" She goes, "You're a brother of the order. I'm sure that they give you open access to any of their materials." She goes, "Otherwise, the town hall has records." And then she goes, "If you're looking for more like history of the region and such," she goes, "you might check with." Hang on a second. His name just flew right out of my head. You might check with Alendru Gorovin. She says he is the owner of the Unfurled Scroll, and he teaches classes, but he has a decent library there as well. Teaches the youths of the village, the basics of arithmetic, reading, and history. But he does sometimes charge. Actually, he usually charges for access to his library.
Okay, I just kind of nod and thanks, and
Okay, she's like, I have to go. Is there anything I can do for you before I leave?
shake my head, gesture to the trunk, and ask like if they make a like a lock gesture.
She says, yeah, I handed the key to, is it Bedwin? I think so. She says, I don't think the key that's been relocked. She goes, but I'll mention it to him. I think he still
Okay,
has it. Okay.
all right, thanks.
All right. I'm going to move over to you, Julian. Yeah, it's the sun is well, actually, I guess Bedwin, you'd probably head out on your ride while there's still a bit of light left. So you guys head out. But yeah, Julian, it's now nightfall.
Okay. I will take the opportunity to uh, go find a nice hiding spot by um, the shrine, the memorial.
Which memorial? You talk
The
about the false crypt?
No, the one that gets defaced every night.
Oh, that one. Okay. So you're gonna set up
I'm
shop.
working while we're picnicking and having dinner. Yes, that one.
We have been charged with providing comfort to the daughter. I am just.
Enjoy
He's
your
doing
ride,
that.
pal. Enjoy your ride.
All right. Okay. So you're gonna find a vantage point nearby where you can hide. There's lots of bushes on the other side of the bank, or on the other side of the bank from the memorial itself. So you can kind of slide in there and remain unseen easily.
Okay.
I'll even give you advantage on your stealth check for setting up in there. You believe you are incredibly well hidden. You
Outstanding.
are comfortable, and so you comfortably kind of hunker down for the evening.
Mm-hmm.
You assume you've kind of worn warm clothing to kind of stave off the cold.
I am dressed to the nines for the task at hand, like always.
Oh, got your black clothes on.
I've got my night blacks on.
Okay. It's unseasonably warm for this late in the fall. Yeah, you're thinking it's got to be. Normally this time of night it'd be down in maybe the high 30s, low 40s, but it's maybe the 60s. Pretty nice, just a light breeze, and but quite comfortable. And the breeze kind of helps out with some of the warmth. And so you just watch. At this time of the evening or night, really, there appears to be no movement down here. You hear the sounds maybe from a little further up in town, maybe from one or more of the taverns or the inns. And when you first got down here, you heard what sounded like almost like a bit of orchestral music coming from up on the north side of town, but it faded pretty quickly as you settled in.
Okay. Was
Nothing like
what was in Harrowstone?
right. I figured you'd ask. Nothing like the flute music, no. But yeah, you you hunker down at the top where you've got a nice view of the entire memorial. Nobody would be able to like sneak up from either bank without you seeing. The only way that they could literally stay in your blind spot would be to come across the river itself. To swim across. That's about the only way that they'd possibly. And you'd hear the splashing.
And the rat being murdered, maybe.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Yeah. So you settle in for the night. Maybe an hour later, you see a large form come down the bank.
From the north or the south?
From the north.
Okay.
And maybe 15 feet away from you, not very far at all, you hear some thrashing as they try to move into the bushes.
Okay. Is this? Do I recognize this large form as a lumbering oaf from my group?
Yeah, you think maybe.
Okay. I will not give away my position.
Okay. So yeah, you guys sit there, and once he's settled in, you're fairly sure this is Nectar.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, he moves a little bit. You hear the creak of leather. He shifts around, maybe just kind of uncomfortable, sitting cross-legged or whatever it is he's doing. You're not really able to tell how he's sitting, but he can only like sit there for maybe like 20 minutes before he shifts. And he makes a little bit of noise. Not like you. When you feel the need to move around, you take your time and make no noise at all. And it must be after midnight. Make a Constitution check for me.
Just straight Constitution.
Yep, straight con. Okay, you're still quite alert, and you nearly miss when someone is almost upon your position. Not in the bushes, right? But someone was very, very quiet as they crept along, and are now in. I mean, it's not even a half moon. I mean, it's a crescent moon. Like you're literally maybe a day or two away from a new moon.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much to go by,
Okay.
even though it's fairly what do I want to say, clear as a night, but it's pretty dark.
I also see pretty well in the dark.
You do, that's true. Yeah, okay, so you don't hear him, but you see him approach. Appears to be a middle-aged man, creeping closer to the memorial.
Okay. I'll watch him.
Okay.
Do I hear any other sounds? Do I feel like he is alone?
Yes. Yeah, you see no other movement. You hear nothing else.
Okay.
In fact, you really have to strain to hear him. He seems to be pretty good at skulking.
Okay. Then I will make sure to keep eyes on him.
Mm-hmm. Make an investigation roll if you like. No idea. Okay.
No idea what. Like, I don't know what I was rolling.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're rolling.
So is he just standing in front of the memorial,
Yes.
or is he acting in a way that he could be painting something on the memorial?
So he moves over to the memorial, and when he gets in front of it, he kind of stops his kind of bent over skulking, and he stands up to his full height, and he kind of stands there swaying for a few moments, just kind of swaying back and forth. And then you see his head kind of twitch a little bit, and finally, hey, hang on just a second. I'm going to see if I can get him to quiet down just a touch.
Okay.
In fact, you want to take just a quick
Yeah,
break,
let's take a quick.
and then we'll resume.
No, it didn't touch the ground. Yes, it did. No, I did not. Sorry.
They're getting along well. Huh? She hired.
All right.
Oh, wait, just a sec.
Todd, you like root beer?
Yes, my wife really likes it.
This right here is the best root beer you can get in a bottle anywhere.
Sioux City, yeah.
Sioux City sarsaparilla. Technically, it's not root beer, it's sarsaparilla, but it's amazing. And I say specifically it's the best root beer you can get in a bottle because the best root beer, of course, is out of a tap. We have a original in my home. I don't know if they call it hometown, but in near Des Moines, Iowa, in Indianola, there's an A&W root beer. I call it root beer stand, but they serve burgers too. They've been doing it since 1952, I think, and it's under the second generation of ownership. That's probably got the best root beer of any place I've been to. And I've been to a few different places to get it on tap.
I like the ones where you can get them. Basically, you go to a brewery and they make their own root beer.
I've had those too, and generally they are definitely good. The big thing with a good A&W root beer, a little gaming segue, is the minimal level of carbonation that they use. Like, it makes, I think there's, among other things, it just makes for like a really smooth root beer. It feels like it's just like 2 shades before it goes flat, but still just enough to make it just not syrup.
I like 1919 keg root beer.
1819.
1919. You can get it at most, like, we got a keg of it for our wedding and a keg of it for the stepson's graduation. You can get an 8-gallon keg of it at most liquor stores in Minnesota anyway.
I'll have to check that out since I live up here.
And it is really good root beer.
Excellent. All right. Well, so we're back to where we were.
All right. So there's somebody swaying in front of the monument, and then you said something changed, something different was happening.
Yeah, like his head twitched a little bit. Like, I don't know, maybe he's got like a nervous tick or some kind of weird thing. And then he kind of stops swaying, he's perfectly stock still, and then he takes like a small bag, like a bladder or something, like he pulls it off over his shoulder, and you see he uncaps it, pours it on his hand, and then he literally just kind of smears.
Okay, as soon as his hand gets up towards the memorial, I'm going to try to sneak up behind him and get my rapier into the small of his back.
Okay. Make a new stealth roll. No problem.
Okay.
However, let's check what your buddy does.
hopefully snores.
Right. Come on. No. Right. It's got disadvantage on that too. Down here. Disadvantage. That's not terrible. It's actually not terrible at all. Okay. He steps out, and though you wince at the amount of noise that he makes, and yeah, as you're now able to see him here, it's definitely Necton. He manages to not make enough noise to notify the guy who you now have at your mercy,
Okay.
as you may appear kind of pricks him in the small of his back.
Okay.
He's in the middle of smearing, and he stops.
Okay. Oh, no, 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 no! Such a beautiful monument to be defaced with blood, good sir.
Okay, give me a moment here. Oops. All right, go ahead and roll initiative.
Oh, I didn't have myself selected, but I don't even think I'm on the map.
Oh yeah, we should probably do that, I guess. You can throw yourself right out on the map next to the memorial. I mean, it won't be 5 feet or whatever, but it's not a big deal. Holy cow, that's enormous! Here, let's move that down to a decent size here. Oh, there you are. You're right there. All right, and hang on a second. Let me grab this guy. And Nectar. Okay. All right, go ahead and roll in it.
Let's see. I had rolled. Can I just drag it onto there?
Oh, you can
Just roll and
click on you and then roll it again and then replace it. Okay. So you get a free round of action against him.
okay. I'm going to say what I said and hold my rapier ready to jab if he does anything other than answer me.
The moron whirls on you.
The moron whirls on you? Oh, okay. It took me a minute to process the words in the right syllables. Then I will. Is there such a thing as a non-lethal attack with a rapier?
Yeah, you can. I'll have to. I don't have Jordan here to quickly tell me the answer. But yeah.
Jordan.
Well,
yes,
you can probably whip him and then hit him with the pommel or something.
Hold on a second. Let me look it up. I don't know if there's specific rules already in that.
I have a vague recollection that you can declare as non-lethal, and it wasn't more complicated than that. But I may be thinking of a different game too.
We'll just at the moment we'll say you absolutely can.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, what it says is that when a person reaches 0 hit points, the person who last attacked can say, I chose to only knock them out. Attack
Okay.
to knock out.
Okay.
So that's kind of how you can handle it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, darn it. Come on. Come back. Okay. Oh, my gosh. That's going to be ugly. Okay. 17. My gosh. Okay. He whirls, and you, rather than just sinking your rapier in between his shoulder blades, go for a vicious sweep against the back of his thighs as he whirls, and you bite deeply into flesh. He curses loudly, and then Necton's up. He steps up, having seen
I
you
get
do
a
that.
short sword attack, right? Do I get a
Oh,
bonus action on my
actually,
surprise
you
round?
do. That's going to do the job. That's a hit. How could you even do a sneak of 0? Plus -1. Oh, interesting.
I don't.
Well, you wouldn't get.
Oh, it's using strength instead of dex. That must be my
Okay,
error.
but as your offhand weapon,
yeah.
it would only do die 6 anyway. So it looks like it must have rolled a 5 plus 3. So I will. We'll call it 5 points of damage.
Yeah. No,
'Cause you-
it rolled the damage correctly, but on the sneak attack, I hadn't set it to dex, so it was using.
Yeah. You need to,
I fixed
unless you
it
have dual weapon fighting, you need to set it to nothing instead of dex.
on the
because-
short sword. Okay.
Yeah, you can do dex damage, but only when you're using it in your primary hand. Okay, so you do 5 points of damage. Okay. You see Necton draws his sword and steps into attack. You say anything?
Yeah. Leave him alive.
Okay.
So he's getting a surprise round as well?
Actually, no, that's a great point. He does not. So give me a moment here. So yeah, what can he do? So for his action, basically in a surprise round, the way I treat it is that he can take an action, he just can't take an action against you. So what he does is he puts himself on the other side of the memorial for the moment.
Okay.
And Necton moves up beside you and draws his sword, and that's all he gets done.
Okay.
Okay, you're up again.
All right. So is Necton in such a way that I can position myself for sneak again?
You'd need to be like over on this side, I think. No, yeah, you could be there. Either way, it would work. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be over here, and that'll clear a lane for him. Okay. Same thing.
Okay. That's enough to hit. You drop him.
Okay. And non-lethal, please.
Yeah, you can ask, so I figured.
1919.
Yes.
All right, he goes down. He's out.
Okay. I think I have rope in my kit.
That's not saying no.
Burglar's pack. It doesn't tell me.
Sioux City root beer is good root beer.
Yeah. That was good 1919.
Assuming I have rope in my pack, I will truss him. I do have rope. Truss him and then wake him up.
Okay. You think you've seen this guy before?
Is he the guy from the graveyard on the first day?
Yes.
I forget what that dude's name was.
You remember that Councilman Puffmouth mentioned that his name was Gibbs of Phoenix.
Gibbs! That's right. Oh, Mr. Gibbs, what brings you? Todd. It's a cacophony over there.
Sorry.
It's a cafeteria. Clearly.
Mr. Gibbs, what brings you here? And please, make your answers correct.
All right. So while you just to backtrack from him, while you truss him up, you notice basically it's like a small wine or water skin or something like that off to the side that fell, and it's leaking what clearly is blood, and you can now see in the light of what little light there is that whatever's on his hand is gone, and you can kind of smell the coppery smell. It's fresh, and there's enough to fill the bladder, which is not the same as what's in a rat.
Not the same as what?
Not the same as what you might find in a rat, right? You wouldn't get
Okay.
that much blood out of a rat. So
Okay.
either several rats or something much bigger was used to fill this.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How does he respond to my question?
Yeah, so his eyes kind of flutter as you kind of wake him back up. It takes a little bit of time to get him up. Hey, 10, 15 minutes. And Necton helped you to and he says, should we get the sheriff for this, or what do you think?
The what?
The sheriff.
Yeah, sorry, I'm having trouble. Let me turn down Todd so I can hear again. Yes, in due time. So I'm going to sort of pick up the bag with the tip of my rapier and hold it in front of Gibbs and sort of repeat the question.
The other thing he had was a large, straight razor, which looked like he was going to use to defend himself with against you.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, equivalent of like a dagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So anyway, when his eyes flutter open, he just looks confused. He sees you. He looks over. He sees Necton. He looks at the bag you're waving in front of your face, or in front of his face, and he's like, "What the hell?" He says it pretty loudly. Granted, you're down along the banks of the river. You're fairly certain there's nobody nearby who's going to hear you. At least you think so. But he immediately starts thrashing in his his bindings, which are pretty darn tight. So he really can't move much.
Mm-hmm. Oh, nice try, Mr. Gibbs. I think you can do better than that. What brings you to the memorial in the middle of the night with a bag of blood?
He looks around like he looks startled. He looks quite. Of course, then again, you knock the dude unconscious, so you'd expect anybody to be startled after that.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, "What the hell? What'd you drag me out here for?"
I roll an insight check to see if his reaction is genuine.
Sure. Nah, he's not being genuine.
I didn't think so. Oh, Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs, Mr. Gibbs. You're caught red-handed, literally red-handed, as I can smell the irony essence on your hand and see the handiwork on the memorial. I'm going to give you one more chance to tell me what's going on before I'm afraid the consequences will be quite dire.
What are you? He goes, what? I suppose now I've given him a southern accent, but he did have kind of a. What are you talking about?
Now he's from Bulgaria.
What are you talking about? Who are you? Wait a minute. I know you. You were at the professor's funeral. And you as well. What are you doing? Why do you have me here?
I'm going to hold my rapier right up to the pulsing veins of his throat.
Okay, he shrinks back away from it. His eyes now quite wide, and he goes silent.
Okay. I'd like to search him and see if he's got anything other than this straight razor.
He's got a key, about the most basic form of key you could imagine. Um, and aside from the clothes on him, the straight razor and the bag, that's really about it. Nothing else of any, value or, or even just value to understanding, the situation really either.
All right. And can I tell what he was scrawling on the? Is there another letter? Was he able to finish it before I?
Yeah. He finished the letter, and then he, what he had left on his hands, he kind of splattered it right on the memorial, and it looked like he was maybe about to do something else, but you stopped him before he did. But now it has a V, an E, and now an S.
Vez. Who's Vez?
You ask him?
Yeah.
He stares at you blankly, but he's like straining as far as his bonds will go away from you, and trying to, he's stretching his neck out to try to get away from your rapier. His eyes are wild. He's breathing fast. This guy's probably, late 40s. Looks like he's aged quite a bit for the years he has too.
Well, perhaps Sir Bedwin is back, and he can truss him up to the sheriff. Necton, anything you want?
He just looks over at you. He says, I wouldn't know any other questions to ask. Well, he goes, what's his key go to? And Gibbs just kind of spits at him and tries to, inch his way away from him. Doesn't want to answer.
Well, perhaps we'll find out.
He
Okay.
goes, you want me to stay here with him, or do you want me to go try to get Bedwin? What are you thinking?
Is there any reason we can't just drag this guy back to the house?
He goes, I can just throw him over my shoulder.
Let's do it. So I'll take the...
He goes, I don't think we should take him inside, though. I don't think Kendra would probably appreciate that too much.
That's fine. But I'll take the bag of blood and the straight razor.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Necton just kind of hauls him right up over his shoulder. The guy, he's thrashing and making all kinds of noise. Necton looks over at you and he says, "Would you?"
My poor shirt. So once again, I will take the strip of cloth from my undershirt and tie a gag around this knave.
Necton kind of looks back over his shoulders and he's like, "Oh, I just thought you'd knock him out." That'll do. And you march him up the hill back towards the Lormore place. All right, so we'll cut back here, back in time. All right, Bedwin, you head out to go get your horse, and you walk with Kendra. She packed a small basket of goodies, and you guys walk up and go for a ride on your horses. Anything in particular you wanna do while you're out?
No, just find a nice spot, have a little picnic, chit chat.
Yeah, you guys, you two actually head north, past the restlands, and the road kind of winds further northwest up to the edges of Lake Lias, which is sometimes called the Blue Lake or whatever. It's quite a large lake, and normally it's a bit of a walk, but you guys are able to ride hard. I mean, that's really what your goal was, is to really work up a bit of a lather on your horse, right? So you get out there in less than an hour, and you guys have a meal together. And in that time, she just asks you, what life has been like, since you two last exchanged letters, and she apologizes for the abruptness of the last note to you, and basically just kind of trying to get to know you again, or in some cases for the first time.
after the meal, ride back at a slower pace so we can chat on the way, and that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, she makes mention. She says, normally I wouldn't be out outside of town, outside of the lights of Ravengrow after dark. She goes, but yeah, I feel quite safe with you.
You can always feel safe with me.
So you ride back. All right. So Piccolo, after Kendra left, what do you decide to do?
Well, I start with reading the note first.
Okay. So you open it. This is for you probably the most important treasure that you could ever imagine, right? Is the knowledge of your family, as it were. You remember when you were before you left to go with the Pharasman monks up to the monastery of the Vale. The last meeting you had with the professor, he went so far as to sketch the picture of your mother's face inside the locket. And he interviewed you about everything you could recall, from your days with the guild, about what they told you, what you inferred, everything you learned. And he had said to you, I suspect that this monastery is more than what it seems. I don't even know if, and I'll have to look back up his name again, the father who ran the church in Levenstad. I don't even know if he knows exactly what it is. He goes, do this for me and report back what you find, and I will do everything in my power to learn what happened to your family, and if they still live, where they may be. And you remember that last conversation. It was really, everything that you survived up to this point, you did for this, really.
Yep.
So at that point, you break open the seal, and inside is a few pages of letter written in the professor's handwriting. And the gist of it is, dear Piccolo, over the last few years, I have searched as far and wide as I could, and for the longest time, thought that my efforts would be for naught, and that the guild did a fantastic job of erasing all knowledge of your background. He goes, however, for as little as I did uncover, I am confident that the guild maintains records on all of the children that they have abducted over the years. My contacts were not able to work their way into the guild, the Thieves Guild in Lepidstad. But I understand that they have a repository of knowledge that they call simply the Eye. And if you can access the Eye, I'm confident that you'll find what you need to know about your parentage. The date on this is from maybe a week before he perished, and his closing words indicate that if you leave the monastery and come back, that he will assist you in your endeavors in Lepidstad. He also mentions a friend there, and you recognize the name because it was mentioned in his will, Embrith Deramid.
Okay. I make a frustrated grimace and then tuck the note away. At which point, what places would be open that would cover local history at the moment?
Well, the Church of Pharasma really never closes. The town hall's probably closed, and so is the unfurled scroll. You imagine, you're past the time that most businesses are open. But if you wandered up there, you might see a light in the window and give it a try anyway.
Yeah, I do that.
So is that where you're going to head first? Is the unfurled scroll?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And you head out. Okay. As you make your way up through the center of the town, you're able to spot a kind of like a string band that was playing in the gazebo, and they're breaking up as you leave. You see a lot of folks going to one of two locations, the outward inn, and then over to the west, like right on the edges of the river itself, the establishment you've heard called the Laughing Demon. But where you're headed for is further north, almost on the north edge of town, right where it crosses the river and heads towards the Restlands. And you see a shop called the Unfurled Scroll. You do see behind closed shutters what appears to be light.
I go knock.
Go away, we're closed, you hear from inside. Sounds like a kind of an older man.
I knock again.
Okay. You hear cursing, and maybe a little less than a minute later, bolts get thrown, and a man peeks out from inside. Of course, he looks up and over you, looks around, eventually looks down and goes, "Oh, what do you want?" He's a typical, old grizzled dude, long white beard, few wisps of hair left on his head, all white, quite old. And when he talks, you see that he's missing a couple of teeth, but still has most of them. And he's wearing, he's wearing robes.
What kind of robes?
Oh, they're kind of a deep brown, kind of a deep russet brown. Doesn't wear any like holy symbol or anything like that. They're just brown robes.
Okay.
No, he's not.
That's funny. He doesn't look Druish.
Right.
I kind of gesture that I can't speak, but I can write and pull out a note and start writing down. I am looking for.
You're still out on the step.
Yeah,
He goes,
I basically try and invite myself in.
you just try to push your way inside. Okay, well, it takes almost no effort. He's not particularly strong. He's like, hey, wait a minute, we're closed. We're closed. What are you doing? You can't be in here.
I gesture for him to come along.
All right, so you look around. You see he's got a desk at the back of the room, obvious ink well with a quill in it.
No slate around or anything?
Yeah, actually, huge slate behind his desk. This guy appears to be a teacher. There's slate and chalk.
Is it filled?
Only about halfway.
All right, I walk up to the other part, pick up a piece of chalk, and start, writing out the song I heard earlier. The words.
Okay. Make an intelligence roll or an investigation roll to see how well you're able to recall it.
And if I have to, I will kind of hop along to the beat to help myself.
Okay.
Intelligence. Not my strong suit.
Amazingly, you somehow seem to recall it quite well. He protests a little bit at first, but you're just ignoring him and writing furiously until you have the whole verse laid out, which, by the way, is in the handout section if you ever want to review it. Under
Yep.
He stops and doesn't say anything until you finish the whole thing. and he he says, where did you see this, or where did you hear this?
I mime girls jumping rope.
He says, do you know, I think I've heard that tune 100 times or more, and I never really paid attention to any of the words. He goes, but it's quite disturbing, isn't it? Who are you? Why are you here?
I just kind of write friend of professor.
Ah, we're here for the funeral.
I nod.
Okay. He says, what do you want of me?
I just kind of like tap ear and point to it.
You heard this. Okay.
What is this about?
He says, I really don't know. He goes, my forte is not, in children's rhymes, although this one's quite morbid.
Okay. Any potential ties to local history?
Oh, he says, so you write that down, ties to local history?
Yeah.
Okay. He says, well, my collected works are really around the histories of Ustalav, not this little backwater area that I've settled in. He goes, my role here really is to teach the youth of Ravengrow and maybe make a better life for them, for those that have the coin to afford my teachings. He goes, if you're looking for local history for this area, he goes, you should really seek perhaps the town hall. He goes, I would even suggest the church. He goes, birth records, death records, especially, they cover all of that at the church, probably more meticulously than even the town hall records.
I thank him for his time and take my leave.
He watches you from the door for quite a ways until you're out of sight before he shuts his door. Okay, so yeah, it's after dark. By the way, you have no special ability to see it at night.
I know that.
Okay.
I head towards the church.
Okay. All right. So you get to the church. The doors are shut.
Walk around back to the rectory or wherever the priest would be staying.
Okay. The door is shut there, but you see light through a shuttered window and what looks like maybe movement on the other side.
Knock on the door.
Okay. You see one of the brothers open the door and looks out at you. Does the same thing. Looks out, doesn't see anything. Looks down. Oh. And they're like, oh, I recognize you. You were with Father Grimborough earlier today.
I gesture, writing, point to mouth, can't speak.
Oh, you've taken a vow. I see. Let me see, brother. Why don't you come in?
I graciously accept his invitation.
Have you eaten?
Yes, I nod.
Okay. You see there's a half a dozen brothers, or maybe a father, but you think these are all acolytes and brothers and such, all sitting around a table. They all look up as you enter. They're all eating what appears to be their evening meal. You also see what appears to be several bottles of wine open on the table. He goes, feel free, have a seat. He goes, what can we do for you? He goes, you want something to write on?
I nod yes.
Okay. They bring out some, real basic materials, not like high quality parchment, but just whatever they've got there. It's real crappy dried sheep hide.
I gesture. I write out the song lyrics and along with the question, any tie to local history.
They all look around at each other. Everybody's asking. They pass around after you write it down. They all read it, and it seems to be a bit of a discussion over the dinner table. Finally, the brother who let you in, he says, "I'm sorry, brother." He goes, "None of us here know anything about this." He goes, "Father Grimborough has lived here for a long time." He goes, "But he retires early." He goes, "If you'd like to speak to him about it, you'll probably need to return during the day."
I nod and thank him, and then
They hand you back your the paper now that you've written on it, the parchment.
and I head out the door.
Okay. Yeah, they bid you farewell, and he asks you once again before you leave if you'd like something to eat or drink.
I gracious gesture, but no.
Okay. All right. Out you go. And what do you head back to the Lorimer place?
Yeah, I guess since I don't really have any other place to go, because unless I'm going to break into the town hall, which doesn't sound wise.
Okay.
And I can't see in the dark anyway.
After you get back to the Lorimer place, what do you do?
I guess I go investigate the library some more. Check out the books in the chest. If the chest has not been locked, use my lock picks to lock it.
Okay. So you head back to the library. The candles are out. Nobody's in there. Nobody else is actually home at this point, which is quite odd. You've actually not been here when Kendra wasn't here, or at least someone. But no one is immediately apparent, at least on the lower floor. You head into the study, and nobody's there. So you head over to the chest.
Yep.
Okay.
Open the chest. Count the number of books. Are they all there?
No. Two books are missing.
Which ones?
You think it was the ones that Karis was reading, and that appears to, on the side, maybe have been going through some sort of transcribing.
Okay. Lock the chest then.
All right, make a thieves pick roll to see if you can kind of reset it. Is that the roll you just made?
Yes.
Okay.
I apparently do not.
Yeah, you've never tried to relock a lock, and you don't seem to be able to make it work. You're not able to get those tumblers to pop back out into place.
Oh, crud. Is there a way to take the 3 books and maybe hide them away from the chest?
Oh, if you'd like. I mean, it's currently unlocked, and the books are just laying there.
I'll do that.
Take them to your room, or what are you thinking?
I was just thinking I'd hide them somewhere else in the library, like maybe behind some other books.
Oh yeah, there's tons of little nooks and crannies. It would take somebody quite a long time for them to find books that you've decided purposefully to hide.
I do so.
Okay, you do it.
And then I go looking for, what's her name's room? Karis's room.
Okay, you head upstairs. All the lights are out in all the rooms except for one that you believe is hers. I mean, you've been by it a few times. You've seen her come in and out of it. Yeah. So the door is shut, however.
Can I look through the keyhole?
Yeah. Sure you can. Make a perception test. The view through the keyhole is really not enough to see much of anything except for the owl, which perches on like the edge of the bedpost, but after a few moments kind of flutters off to a side of the room you can't see through the keyhole, does something, and then flutters back.
Pound on the door.
You hear Karis. Oh, who's there?
Pound on the door some more.
Oh, it must be you, Piccolo. Just hang on a moment.
Can I use stealth and just not be there when she opens the door?
You want to creep away from the door?
No. I'll just stand there.
Okay. All right. Takes her, 10, 20 seconds. You hear some noises in the room, and then eventually she comes over, and there must be a lock on the door. You hear a lock turn, and then she opens the door. She's like, "Well, hello there."
And I slip past her into the
anyone
room.
else in the house. What do you
I
say?
slip past her into her. I slip past her into her room.
Well, do come in, she says. Okay.
Do I see the books?
No.
I just give her a knowing look and shake my head.
I'm sorry. Is there something I can help you with?
Let me guess. There's writing material.
There is.
I walk up to the desk, write down, "You should return the books."
She says, "My precious, whatever do you mean?"
Give the universal "don't bullshit me" gesture.
She is amazingly convincing. Like, if you didn't already know, if you hadn't already seen what she'd done, you'd totally believe her.
Yeah. Can I roll insight?
Yeah,
What is she getting at?
you can roll insight. You're not learning anything more from her. She's totally a wall, right? But she's like, "Whatever do you mean, my precious?" You seem quite distressed.
But I saw you copying the books in the library. They're
How-
missing now.
How are you? How do you say that to her?
I just write it down.
All right, so you grab one of her. She's got tons of paper. You write down, "I saw you copying one of the books in the library."
See.
Yes.
Okay. She reads it. She goes, "You did?"
And they're missing now.
They won't be tomorrow.
They're all missing.
You see, she kind of looks shocked at this. She goes, "What do you mean?"
They're missing.
You just kind of repoint to what you wrote. Okay. She goes, "Well, I think we should find them, don't you?"
Where would they have gone? I start searching around her room.
She goes,
Looking
"No,
under the
that's
bed.
not nice." She goes, "I think it's time you leave." She goes, but I'll go with you. We'll find it. We'll find them. She moves to kind of try to usher you out of the door, out of her room.
I let her usher me out.
Okay. She locks it behind herself, and she goes, "Now, the books are missing from the chest.
I nod.
Well, let's go find them."
Okay.
All right. So you guys head downstairs. Okay, so you guys are down there looking around through there, unless you tell her where they are. She's just hunting around trying to find them. Do you, after about an hour, she's getting closer. Do you try to move them?
Sure, I guess.
Okay.
Sleight of hand or something.
Well, yeah, it'd probably be a sleight of hand and a stealth.
All right. If caught, I just pretend that I found them.
Not a chance. Okay. She mistakes your noise for you looking as well and doesn't make any obvious connections, but you definitely moved the books to a location she'd already searched. So
I make frustrated, exasperated noise.
okay, about that time, Julien, you actually, Bedwin, you return first. You and Kendra. You come in and you kind of she goes to the kitchen to drop off all of the items from your leftover dinner, and you've already brushed down the horses and done all that and left them at the stable, and you come in and you note that there appears to be activity in the study.
I will enter the study and ask if they have found something.
Well, no, darling, says Kara. She goes, in fact, something seems to have become lost.
What is missing?
She hazards a glance over to Piccolo, and she says, well, he discovered that the books were missing from the chest.
I say a very unpaladin-like curse.
We've searched the study almost entirely and found nothing.
Okay, let's finish searching the study.
Okay.
You know where Julian and I need to learn names. Necton are?
Kara says, why no? She goes, I was in my room studying when Piccolo came to inform me of the missing books. She goes, I haven't seen anyone else all night. She goes, in fact, the house was completely silent until really your return, or I should say when Piccolo came to talk to, or not really talk to me, but when he wrote down that the books were missing.
I grab a piece of paper while they're searching, write a note to, what's the professor's daughter's name?
Kendra?
Kendra. Is she there too?
She's in the next room, in the kitchen. As you're writing something down, you see that Karis looks over at you, Piccolo, and she just kind of raises her eyebrow. Flashes you a bit of a grin. Like maybe she's enjoying this.
And I finished writing the letter down, or writing the note to, and slip out the door and hand it to the professor's daughter, stating what I had seen with Karis copying the books and how 2 of the books went missing. And now they are all missing.
Okay.
I just hand her the letter and walk without really any reaction, and walk back into the room and start searching some more.
Okay.
Only with a glass of like mead or something in my hand.
Sure.
Like I ducked out to.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you come back in with a drink. About this time, Necton says, I'll manage him out here, and you guys are behind the house. I'll manage him out here if you want to go get the others.
Did I take his key?
I guess you did.
All right. Okay, I'll go in and find Bedwin.
Okay. You find that pretty much everybody's in the study. You see that Kendra is standing in the doorway to the study, and she has a piece of paper kind of folded in her hand. Bedwin, Piccolo, and Karis are all like pulling books off shelves, looking behind them, moving things. Definitely a search is underway.
At some point, shortly into the search, I'm going to try. I remember that I was able to pick up a slight trace of evil when I did divine sense on the books. So I will use my divine sense again and see if I detect them.
Okay. Okay. You can make an active perception roll. You know, you're really straining hard to catch that sense. Good enough. You go around the room, your sense is extended, and yeah, a very, very mild trace of just, you know, that smell of brimstone, you know, the creepy crawlies just kind of crosses over your skin, you know, as you approach one area. And you see, you know, part of a bookshelf where, you know, the books aren't as perfectly lined up as they once were. And there's kind of like a bookshelf with it's a built-in, and there's like a little alcove. But it looks like everything's already been moved here. But sure enough, you move some books aside and you recognize 3 books, one of which is that purple dyed leather book that has the clasp on it. It's probably the most visibly obvious of the stack of books from the from the chest. But with it are the professor's journal and another book.
Okay. So I have 3 of the 5, but still missing 2.
Oh, delightful! A scavenger hunt in the middle of the night. Well, when you're finished, there's a prisoner out back for you, Bedwin.
Prisoner?
Yes, our graffito of the memorial. While you all were riding and playing and eating, I captured a prisoner. Well, Necton was there, although he was a little oafish, but he's good for carrying sacks of prisoner.
I nod and say, wonderful. However, we are missing 2 of the 5 books.
Well, I don't know where they might be. Good evening to you.
I point to.
You head back out.
I am going to do a sense motive. What is it? Insight?
On Julian?
Julian as he walks out.
Okay. You kind of stare at him kind of intently as he walks out the door. Yeah, you don't know. But, you know, he hasn't apparently been around. I mean, you suppose that if he, in fact, has a prisoner, that probably would have kept most of his attention for the evening.
Did he say that he could? He just said he couldn't sense the other 2.
Sense the other 2.
Right.
The books.
Yeah, the remaining 2 books.
Pretty much had to be right up on him to really notice them.
Well, right. No, I'm just saying. Did he say out loud that he did not sense them?
Oh, I don't know. Did you? I don't think you said anything about it at all.
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's see.
After I found the 3, and then after being interrupted by Julian, I will say that yes, I could sense the evil in the 3 of the books, but I don't sense the other 2.
I tap him and tell him to follow me.
I will follow Piccolo.
Okay.
I take him up to Karras's room.
Okay.
Pick the lock if I have to.
Okay, you're going to have to roll. Yeah, you see he tries to open the door. It's locked, Bedwin, and he rolls out a small set of picks and starts working on the door. You know this is one of the occupied rooms.
Wait, I put my hand on his shoulder. Wait. Do you believe that books are in this room?
I nod.
I will turn to Karis.
Oh, she's not there.
I'm going to do
She's back
a
downstairs.
sense motive or insight on trying
Piccolo?
to. Yes, I'm Piccolo.
Okay.
And I will call down for Karis.
Okay. Sure, darling. I'll be right there. You look at the halfling. He doesn't seem to be the sort that is terribly, that has a lot of guile per se, and you're fairly certain that he's being straightforward with you. Okay. So yeah, she comes up the stairs. She goes, "Well, hello there, darling. What?" She kind of looks at the two of you, kind of standing outside the door. What's this all about?
If I search your room, will I find the missing books?
She goes, "I wouldn't think so." She goes, "I didn't put them there."
I will do an insight on her.
She seems quite honest about it. She goes, "Look, I'm the first to agree with you. We need to find these books." She goes, "Do you want me to open the door? Come on."
Okay, I was just going to ask if we could search your room.
She pulls out the key and she unlocks the door, opens it up. She goes, "Please, feel free to look around."
And I slip back down to the library.
And I will take my time and search thoroughly.
Okay.
I'll give the books to Necton to bury out behind the back.
Oh my God.
I jest.
Whew. All right.
I feel like I'm playing a bad version of Clue.
All right, Piccolo, make him. I know you're actively looking. Make a perception test.
Piccolo or me?
No, Piccolo.
Okay.
You go scurrying as fast as you can back down the stairs to the library, and you see that there's you notice that there's a window open in the room. Basically it's one of those, that there's the shutters on the outside, but then there's windows on the inside. And one of the window panes is kind of opened inwards, and you catch just like a hint of movement go out the window as you come, running into the library. And Kendra, she sees you come down the stairs. She's still got the piece of paper in her hand. You believe she's probably read it, although she refolded it. She sees you, and then she follows you into the library as you head in there. So yeah,
Are the books back in the chest?
No. You run over to the chest, you open it up. I don't know. What did you do with the 3 books? Did you put them back?
I put the 3 books back in the chest.
The 3 books are there. That's it.
Lock the window.
Okay.
So I saw something flying back out the window, or I saw...
You just saw movement, here's one pane, the other pane is slightly open, and there was just like a little something, out.
Crud. All right, look for a feather.
No, there doesn't appear to be any obvious sign of passage inside the what do you call it, the study. So, Bedwin, you search thoroughly. She's like, I've got the small use of a writing desk. She opens the roll top on it, opens the drawers for you. She opens her closet, a chest of clothes. And then she's like, you can turn up the bed, whatever you want. She goes, it's not here. I don't have it. She goes, I don't know why Piccolo was thinking that's the case.
I will again use a divine sense.
Okay.
I search carefully, not find anything. I will apologize to her and step out and go back down to the study.
She follows you and shuts the door behind her. And she says, look, I understand that emotions are high. When we found out that the books were missing, she goes, we definitely need to find them. I mean, that's part of the what we were asked to do in his last will and testament. I get it.
More importantly, these books cannot fall into the wrong hands.
She goes, absolutely. She goes, I work with the professor. I know how dangerous this knowledge could be in the wrong hands. So yeah, you head back downstairs. What do you do after you close and lock up the window?
I look for. Well, the bird couldn't move books and then put them in there very well. In fact, how could that bird carry the heavy books anyway?
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it really doesn't. Look for anything that looks out of place from what we just moved.
Okay, make an investigation roll. One of the lower drawers of the desk, like one of the big drawers, seems to be slightly opened. Not fully, but just didn't get pushed all the way back in.
Slowly pull it open. Make sure that Kendra is watching.
Okay. There are the other 2 books.
Are there any feathers or anything on the books?
No.
Interesting. Roll my eyes. Shrug at Kendra. Put
She
the
goes,
books back.
Those?
I nod.
She looks down at the piece of paper, looks back at you, and you see her. She just kind of gets a far away look, like maybe she's thinking, trying to figure this thing out. But about that time, Bedwin, you and Karis come back down. She's like, "Oh, marvelous! You found the books, darling."
I didn't tell her. I just put them back in the trunk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were still holding them.
No, I said I put them in the trunk.
Okay. So she didn't say that. Sorry.
And I pushed the drawer back just to where it was, when I found it.
Okay. She goes, "Isn't your friend outside? Or isn't our friend Julien outside with Necton? Should we continue the search for the books, or should somebody help him? It sounds like there's a prisoner."
How about the 2 of you finish searching? I will go. Did Julian go back outside? Or did he retire?
He's not inside. Seems like he had pressing things to do.
I will go outside and speak with Julian and
Necton,
and I will be right back. So I will step outside, hopefully, to find Julian and Necton.
Okay. What did you said, Michael, that you guys would be out back, I think, right?
That's where you said we were, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you know where to find him. You go walking out there. All right, so we'll finish this up because I'm just having too much fun with this. So after Bedwin makes that statement, Karis looks back over at you, Piccolo, and says, "Well, I suppose we should get back to work then, shouldn't we?"
I shrug and act like nothing ever happened.
Okay.
But, go back to looking for books in the library.
Okay. She does the same. She doesn't approach the desk, though. Okay, so Bedwin, you head out back. By the way, Kendra is just kind of standing in the doorway watching the 2 of you. And so, Bedwin, you head outside, and sure enough, you see behind the house, Necton's basically just like kneeling down with one knee in this guy's lower back as this guy's thrashing and struggling.
This is the
Bedwin, and here's the blood. Here's the razor blade. Here's the graffito. You have such an excellent relationship with our dear sheriff. I thought you would want the honors of taking him in.
Necton looks over at you, Bedwin, and says, I can back up what Julian's saying. I was there too. We were hiding in different spots, and we both saw him. We saw this guy. He poured blood from this bladder onto his hand, and then he started smearing it on the memorial.
I look at the man and step forward as I try to.
He's on his belly. Necton's got his knee in the guy's back. He's trussed with his hands behind his back, his feet tied, his knees tied, and he's got a strip of cloth tied tightly in his mouth. So even when he tries to yell, it's very muffled.
Okay. I am going to step forward, draw in a deep breath to make myself as big as possible, pull out my sword, and as I do so, I cast light on the blade. So
Okay. So he's kind of face down in the dirt. He kind of cranes his head around, and his eyes are quite wide.
So I am now a knight of Ozen holding a shining blade. Hopefully he has some, and I attempt to cut off his gag. Once I do that, I will hold the.
I gotta say, you that's a pretty tough feat without like slicing the dude's throat or cutting his head off.
Well, I'll try to cut it. I might cut off his ear.
All right, make an attack roll. Let's see how this goes. He's down on the ground, so I'll even give you advantage.
Oh!
Thank you for advantage.
Yeah, you cut a long line on the side of his face as you cut the gag out of his mouth, and he howls in pain. Oh no, I'm sorry. You got the advantage. You got the 22. I was thinking the 9 and the 6 were the two rolls. Sorry. Yeah, you neatly clip it off. Lucky you.
You stand before a paladin of Imade, a knight of Ozem. What do you have to say for yourself, prisoner? I attempt to intimidate.
Roll it.
Your rolls tonight have been spectacular.
They really have.
Really bad.
He, you know what? I'm going to give you an advantage on that too, considering your presentation. I'll give it to you. See how you do. Try again. Okay. He babbles. He tries to roll. Of course, he really can't because Necton still got his knee in the guy's back. But he's just like literally just vomiting from the mouth. Just, I don't know what happened. I don't know. Who are you? Who are you people? What's going on? He's almost unintelligible. His accent's thick enough anyway. But now with him just literally being, you think, terrified and confused from the appearance anyway. You let him kind of spend himself on just throwing all of this stuff at you. I don't know who you are. You should let me go. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know any of you people other than I saw you at the professor's funeral. He's a necromancer. You support necromancers. You'll all hear of this.
A knight of Ozem is not a necromancer. And the sword trembles just a bit as I consider running him through. Okay. Do I, with my history, do I recognize Julian's family at all?
Make a roll. You've never really checked into that. Mm, you recognize you recognize enough of the name to know that it is an old Ustalavian name from Ardial, which is the county to the east of here, and also the ancestral county where the capital once was, until maybe 50 years or so ago when it was moved south to Califas. Beyond that, you don't really know how much, how much royal blood or nobility his family has.
Well, I'll just have to. I turn to Julian and say, okay, me and Necton are going to haul the prisoner to the sheriff's office to jail. Hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to get some information. Our companions, Piccolo and Karis, I don't understand. The books are missing. We need to find the books. I don't know what's going on in there. Can you go help try to find the books while me and Necton haul the prisoner to the jail?
Bedwin seems quite frustrated.
You mean Necton?
Necton.
No, Bedwin.
Oh. The person talking?
Yeah. Necton, he's just like, I'm ready. Whatever. Let's go.
Sure. I would be happy to. I'm not much of a bookworm, but I know what they look like. I look around.
I trust a man from your station will, at very least, act as a gentleman and try to keep some sort of order in the house while I'm gone.
I refrain from making a comment about the picnic, but I will bow in the appropriate manner. But as they're doing that, before I look for the search, I want to find the daughter.
Okay. Yeah, you actually see that she's standing in the doorway to the study as Piccolo and Karis are conducting some sort of search.
So, quite an exciting night. Prisoners, missing books. Was life always this exciting?
She goes, never until you lot arrived. She says it in a very kind of playful manner.
Tell me, where has not been searched for these books? Maybe I will have luck.
She says, I only began paying attention maybe halfway in. She goes, you probably need to speak to one of these two.
Well, it looks like they've torn the house to and fro. Another question. Gibbs. You remember Gibbs from the funeral.
Her face darkens.
Did she see that was who the prisoner was?
She didn't come outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caught him as the one defacing the memorial. You wouldn't happen to know where he lives, would you?
I do.
Could you describe it to me?
Yeah. Hang on here. Yeah, she says, if you cross the small bridge here just south of us, and then take a right past the posting poles there,
Mm-hmm.
she says there's a house. And she basically mentions this little shack behind the house, which if you're looking at the map is right here.
All right. Okay. Oh, any idea what VES, what that might stand for? One of the priests told me that I guess the jailer at Harrowstone's wife Started with a V. Does that ring any bells?
She goes, Father had me in a lot of a lot of books, but never in much around the local lore. She goes, unfortunately, I'm probably not much good there. She goes, but there might be something. There might be something here in the library.
Anything in particular? Books are not my strong suit.
She steps into the library for the first time, and she says, "Well," she goes over to a particular section, and she says that unless it's been moved, she goes, "Father kept this section for all things local to the community," and she starts pulling down about a dozen books.
Okay. Is she looking, or is she just giving them to me?
She says, I'm happy to look for you if you like."
Why don't I'll help her look.
Okay. So I'll let her make an investigation roll with advantage. So you do this while you kind of monitor them moving around.
Yeah, I mean, these two have torn up this room, I imagine, since they've been doing it since I got here.
Okay. Yeah, she opens up a particular volume, and she hands the book over to you, and she points to a particular passage, and it mentions basically there's a discussion of the wardens who ran the prison in any particular frame of time, and then just like who their personal attendants were, and certain names of their heads of guard in those times. And she points to one where you see it mentions Warden Hockren, and his wife's name is Visoriana.
Soriana. Okay. I'll make a note to remember that name, Visoriana. That was the last warden, I assume? I think the priest had said they were the ones that perished in the...
Right. She goes, you can see here there's a discussion of the fire that raged in 4661.
Alright. Okay. I'm going to go outside and look around the house and see if I see anything that doesn't belong, any tracks leaving the house.
Okay. Make a survival check if you want to do like a tracking type roll.
Also not my strong suit.
Yeah. No, don't spot anything. Piccolo, you guys are still searching when the two of them leave the study. So she continues to search, but she never does go back to the desk.
Okay.
After they after they leave, and it's just you two, she looks back over you and she just gives you like this big wink.
I just give her a very level look of I don't like being lied to. And do another insight check, just to try and figure out what the hell she's getting to.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, she's being pretty obvious with you. You don't get any like true sense of maliciousness. It just feels like maybe she's being playful with you, and you feel pretty confident of that.
Okay. I still don't being made to look like a liar.
Okay. Okay. So, Bedwin, you and Necton. Well, basically, when you go, Necton just kind of puts him back over his shoulder again. He does look over at you though, and he says, "You might want to gag him again, otherwise he's going to make a whole bunch of noise on the way up through town."
I'll reapply the gag.
Okay. And you guys march him up to the jail. Sure enough, at that time, Benjamin Kaler comes to the jail doors. He looks a little disheveled, probably from sleep. You can see that as you guys get into the jail with him, that he was just sleeping in one of the cells. And he kind of gets composure again. He's like, "What's this all about? Why do you? That looks like Gibbs Hephaestus. Why do you have him? What's going on? What's with all the blood? Is he hurt?" You see, he goes and starts investigating his hand, and then he kind of frowns when he sees that there's no cuts. You, by the way, Bedwin, have his razor, which has blood on it, and the bladder, or what do you want to call it, which still has quite a bit of blood in it.
So I will place these on the desk, on his desk, and I will say, 2 of my company staked out the memorial to the prison fire, and this man approached. He was detained, and these 2 items were found on his person. I will say, when I questioned him, just questioned him, he appeared to be confused as to how he ended up at the memorial with these items.
He still looks pretty confused. He goes, "What the hell am I doing here? Why am I under arrest? Why would I be? The sheriff, you need to do something. They tied me up, and I don't have any idea why." You know, of course, Benjamin's just looking at all of the stuff in front of him. He looks back at you, Bedwin, and he says, while a tough accusation is being made here, he goes, all the evidence does surely seem to point to it. He goes, let's put him in a cell. Let's put him in a cell, and then we'll head down to the memorial and take a look.
I nod to Necton.
Okay. He lays him down on a cot in the cell. Benjamin comes in, and he cuts all the ropes off of Gibbs. However, Gibbs is just, he's like, "Sheriff, I ain't done nothing wrong." Here I am. I'm converting to a southern accent again. He's like, "I've done nothing wrong. You have no reason to keep me." And he's just going on and on about that.
Before he cuts the ropes off, I will untie him so Julian can get his full rope back.
Oh, okay. All right, you do. And but Benjamin he doesn't even say a word to him. Not a word. And he shuts and locks the cell door behind him, and the 3 of you now head back down to the memorial. So, all right. And I'm sorry, we were talking Piccolo, I think. I want to say you were talking to Karis. Where we leave off with that?
I said I just gave her a look. I don't like being made a liar.
Okay. She says, I'm tired, darling. She says, I think we probably need to, complete this search in the morning. But maybe we need to wait for our companions to get back. She goes and she finds Kendra, and she says, I don't think we found anything so far. Should we resume the search in the morning? Kendra, she just says, the books need to be found. Whether we find them tonight or in the morning seems to make no difference to me. And she says, that's fine. I'll wait for Julien. And wait, where did you go? No, you're here with Kendra. That's right.
Me?
Sorry.
No, I went outside to look for anything out of the ordinary, but showed my lack of skill at survival. But after that, I was going to go traipse on down to Gibbs's place.
Oh, okay. Kendra's not going to accompany you for that.
No, she was inside she helped me
Yeah.
with the book, and then I went back outside. I didn't assume
Right. Okay.
she went with me.
Okay. So you head on down there alone. Yeah. So Kendra kind of says that's fine. We'll wait up for your friends if you need to retire. And then Karis heads upstairs. At which point, she waits for Karis's footsteps to recede, and then the door to shut upstairs before she looks back to you, holds up the note again, and she just like shrugs her shoulders like, what the hell? She just has that look on her face.
I just, kind of raise my arms and like, I don't know. I write down, I grab another piece of paper and write down, I saw her reading through one book and making notes and magically copying the other book. When you caught me outside the library. When I returned to the library, shortly after that, she was gone, as were the books. And she was up in her room.
So she just shakes her head. So she hid 3 of the books in the same room, and then what? Made off with the other 2? Are they hidden somewhere else in here? Shows you.
No, I explained that I hid the remaining 3 books out of fear that she might find them and make off with them as well. But I had to play with the charade because, the other she wouldn't own up to having the other 2 books.
Make a persuasion roll.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I know. You're not terribly good at that.
Ooh!
Oh God, dude. Yeah, she
I
reads,
get with it and I just give up.
she reads your note, and then she looks at the other note that you gave her, and then she just you see the gears turning in her head, and you roll an insight. She does not believe you. You can tell at the worst, she does not believe you at all. At the most, she's horribly confused by the intrigue that was at play here. She puts them both down. She kind of puts her head in her hands, and she just shakes her head and she goes, "So, do we have any idea where the other 2 books are, Piccolo?"
I gesture over the trunk and open the trunk.
Did you move them there? Oh no, that's right. You
She
picked them
saw
up.
me. She saw me find them.
Yeah, sorry. I'm having trouble following this myself. That's right. So yeah, okay, never mind. She didn't say that. Yeah, so she's like, okay, we have all 5 books. She goes, I'm gonna wait for Bedouin to return, and we're gonna lock the chest, and he can keep the key with him.
Okay. I just sit on the chest in the meantime and stack some heavy books on top of it next to me.
Okay. All right. Bedouin, you and Necton come traipsing down. In the meantime, Julian, you find the shack of Gibbs Hephaestus.
Mm-hmm. All right, so describe the shack. Let's see, I think my character's over here somewhere. If I'm standing kind of maybe in these trees over here looking at it.
Oh, okay, so you're first just wanting to kind of check the place out.
To get the lay of the land, yes.
All right. Okay. Basically, it's a little more than a shanty in design. The roof is a mixture of bark and thatch, and the siding is slat board and not terribly well put together.
Okay, doors, windows.
There's a single door, and there's a window over on the north side here, immediately visible to you.
Okay. I will skulk over to the side of the house. Get down. Yeah,
Where the window is? Okay.
and get sort of down below the window and listen for a moment.
You hear nothing.
Okay, and then stealthily, is the window like an open air window? Is it glass? What's the
Closed shutters.
closed with shutters? Okay.
Mhm.
Then I will attempt to pull the shutters back from the side and peer in.
Okay. It's got a very simple latch between the two.
Mhm.
Easy to. You can use a dagger to kind of pop it up and open them out.
Okay.
There's another set of shutters on the inside, also easily able, for you to bypass. It's dark inside.
Okay. All right. With my elven vision, what do I see inside?
Incredibly simple little hovel. Basically, it's not much more than a single room. Guy's clearly a bachelor.
Mm-hmm.
What the most interesting thing that you do see in the room that might have some value is there's a chest at the foot of his bed.
Okay. And I have a key, so I'm gonna skulk in through the window,
Mhm.
and I'm going to take a look at this chest and satisfy myself that there is no traps or other shenanigans going on.
Mhm.
And then I will see if the key appears to fit.
It does, actually, and it slides right in and turns, and the chest unlocks. Everything in this place around you, I mean, he clearly made it himself. And he's
Mhm.
not a terribly great craftsman.
Okay.
He uses baling twine and whatever glue he's able to kind of create himself to fix most things. His carpentry is terrible. The chest is actually, it doesn't fit the room. It looks pretty old
Uh-huh.
and of decent construction.
Okay. So he didn't.
You weren't sure what to expect when you opened it, but you definitely weren't expecting to see a set of old and slightly rusty full chain armor and a longsword and like a cloak that has the Tamravena coat of arms on it.
Okay. What does the coat of arms mean to me?
Tamravena is what this county was called before the county seat was overthrown and became one of the Palatinates and was renamed Canterwall.
Okay. Alright, so there's an old sword, an old rusted out chainmail, and this cloak.
Mm-hmm.
Anything under that stuff?
Yeah, you dig under that, you see a really old worn set of boots. And as you kind of push them aside, you hear a bit of a jangle.
Okay.
And you shake that out.
Yeah.
Okay. You find a collection of kind of crap coins for the most part. A variety of copper and silver. There's 10 gold pieces and a small gem.
Okay. I'm not that kind of thief, so I'm gonna leave the money. Is there any markings on the sword? Anything that gives me some clue as to what it would be doing in... Does Gibbs, from my knowledge of him, does he look old enough to be the original owner of this stuff?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, so perfect. And how long ago was that coat of arms valid?
Maybe 30 years ago.
Okay. And he's old enough to have been a soldier?
Oh, yeah. Probably, like I said, late 40s, maybe early 50s.
Okay. Alright. Anything in here that ties him to blood or...
Not that you see in the chest, not inside the house proper either.
Okay. Alright. I'm going to take the... Is the cloak look like it's valuable or just something you would wear to keep warm?
It's pretty threadbare
Okay.
at this point. It looks like it's seen a lot of use, and it's been outdoors a lot.
Okay. And you said the chainmail was rusty. What about the longsword? Is it...
Well, when I say rusty, I mean easily reconditioned.
Okay.
But clearly I'd say rusted from lack of use
Okay.
to some degree.
Same with the sword.
Longsword is not well oiled. It's dry and looks like it could use an edge, but it's quite serviceable.
Okay. I'll leave those, and I'll leave the boots, and I'll leave the money, but I will take the cloak that has the coat of arms on it.
Okay.
And then I'll do an examination of the rest of the house, but it sounds like there wasn't a bucket of rat corpses or...
No, nothing like that.
All right.
So yeah, you've thoroughly checked the inside of the house, and aside from the chest, there's really nothing else of any real interest in here, from what you can tell.
Okay. All right. I will skulk back out and close it up the way that I found it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You close the shutters, and now what? You're back on the north side of the house.
Let me look around the house and see. I'm still looking for evidence of where all this blood came from.
Okay. You get around to the back. There's a wood shed, or not a wood shed. It's just like a wood pile against the house.
Mm-hmm.
Make a perception test. Primarily because it's still night. You see, back here he does a lot of wood, split logs and stuff, and there's a lot of just sawdust. In stark contrast to that light-colored sawdust, you see what you think might be spatters of blood. You follow them into kind of a nook, or just a space behind stacked cords of wood against the back of the house, and you see something furry.
Okay. Kind of pull the wood out of the way and take a look at it.
It's clearly dead, and you think it might have been a cat.
Okay. My judgment, is that enough blood to account for the bag of blood?
If you were thorough, yeah, maybe.
Okay. All right. As long as I'm right here, I'm going to pop down over to the memorial and see if anything is different than we left it.
You catch up with Bedwin and Necton, and you see the familiar wide-brimmed hat of Sheriff Benji Kittler.
Okay.
You're clearly able to see them because Kaler has a hooded lantern. When he gets close to the memorial, he opens it fully up and shines it on the memorial. And even from this distance, you can see the somewhat reflective or glossy kind of color to the blood. It hasn't really dried yet.
So it's a VES?
VES.
Sheriff, VES. Do you think that could refer to whatever the heck her name was?
Visoriana Hakra.
Visoriana, yes, Visoriana.
He goes, well, he moves the lantern closer to the wording on the memorial. He scrolls down through the various names, and with one hand he points at a particular name. He goes, now that you mention it, there it is.
Did our Mr. Gibbs have any relationship to her or that family?
He thinks on it. And he goes, he moved here before I came to town.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, but I don't know if he's been here that long.
Right. Wasn't the fire like a significant time ago?
50 years on the dot.
On the dot.
Well, I mean, maybe not down to the day and month, but it's been 50 years.
Okay.
So,
Is there?
So he might be old enough to have been a relation of some sort.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. You probably need to check the town records, see if there's any record of the Hafinas name. So, but we're at 10 o'clock.
Oh, so, yeah, look at that.
No, hope you guys had fun tonight. Now I'm gonna have to go back to Jordan and say, hey, look, I may have done some damage. You're gonna have to clean this up. Oh shoot! But I gotta say, I greatly enjoyed all of that. even though it was a bit of cloak and dagger. It was quite a bit of fun.
It was enjoyable. Bedwin would have been as confused as and irritated or agitated as I played him.
Got it. All right. Well, guys, we'll catch up again next Monday.
Very good.
See you guys.
Good
All right,
night.
ciao.
Yeah.